This is a special podcast. Today I'm joined with Joel Dunn. He has some very powerful insights into mindset and helping others reach their highest potential. Joel, thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
So, Joel, you mentioned that you had a sister with special needs. Will you go into a little bit about your sister and that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually when we started going through all of these things and you were sending me the questions, it caused me to actually have to dive a lot deeper into actually what I was going to think about sharing. And so my sister Tara was born in 1978, 79. So she was 44 when she passed away last year. And when she was born, she had Cri du Chat syndrome, which is also known as cat's cry syndrome, because when they were born as babies, they have this high pitched cry that sounds kind of like a cat crying. So that's where they got the name from it. And it's a genetic disorder that is like a deletion of one of the chromosomes or half of a chromosome or something like that. So if you want to Google and learn more about it, definitely Cri du Chat syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But again, going back to this, we were raised in the 80s. We were Gen X kids, and there was four of us. So I was the oldest. My sister Tara was born second, and then I had two sisters born after that. We're all 2 years apart. So we grew up in a household of four kids. And again, going back to this was 1979 going through, and to make things even more dramatic, we were born and raised in Alaska, Fairbanks, Alaska.
Gosh.
So now let's take the lens of somebody with special needs born in the late 70s, and then in the remoteness of an entire state of Alaska, the support there was next to none. So between my mother, my aunt, her sister, they were really the ones on, I would say, like the pioneering end of advocacy for special needs in Fairbanks, along with another friend of ours that I grew up with that was special needs. Her mom was the pioneer before them because she was born a year before me. So she had a 3 year ramp up of trying to get things in schools, get the things lined up for her daughter as she was, growing up. So it was a very interesting time going back and, just being in the 80s in general. But the lack of resources that were available to support my mom,
Mm.
which ultimately came back to obviously how it impacted the family. But looking back at it again, it's incredible that we didn't know as siblings that there was a lack of support just because of the stuff that we saw. We didn't know how hard our mom, our aunt was pushing to get things in the school system, things to, help her, like braces and communication devices and all the things that, they'd have to find out what we would call down here the lower 48. They would have to find out what's going on down there in order to get it brought up to Alaska, which, back in the 80s, that seems like it was insurmountable.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow. How did it affect her daily living?
So for her, it's a broad range of developmental issues. So lack of balance because her two supporting small toes didn't grow in completely. So they were shorter, so obviously off balance. Temperamental issues, hearing loss, no speech, sign language. It was lots of not just developmental issues, but physical issues for her entire life. But it's almost like her brain was locked inside of her body because there were certain things that she could do, but you could tell she would get frustrated because she knew she couldn't communicate them. So, growing up, it was one of those things as, hitting, biting, pinching was just a release of frustration because she didn't know how to get out what she was trying to get out. And, us being absolute horrible siblings, we learned the bare minimum basics of sign language to have conversations.
Well, I'm sure you weren't that bad. Oh man, that had to have been so hard. Like, so then, what was it like for you growing up, having her as your sister, in a state that has no services, in a state that's not, I can imagine, super accepting to a population they don't really know anything about. I mean, nowadays, that's the whole goal is advocacy and giving our special
Yeah.
needs community the same resources as us. But you went
Yeah.
against all the walls.
Well, yeah. And when we set this up, that's kind of something that really just kind of hit for me. I was like, man, we were in the beginning stages of what there's so much advocacy for now. Like, it's almost like that entire generation of special needs really were bootstrapping everything that is currently available now. Like, it's almost like if my mom would have had my sister now, I wonder what the different type of outcome would have been. And also a part of our story is my mom passed away from cancer when I was 16. So that would have made my sister 14. And that's when my aunt became the legal guardian for her and took care of her. And so from that transition, there was a lot going on. And that was, 93, 94. But to see things transition and in that community from that point forward kind of expanded as well. There is, a Cri du Chat event where everybody from around the country gets together. And so she's gone to that quite a few times. There was all sorts of new support specifically for her condition that started, coming out because it was one of those things that once the internet started becoming available, people were able to connect even quickly and basically form an advocacy group for just their specific syndrome.
Yeah, wow. There's a lot of obstacles, which makes sense why you are where you are today, because you've faced some of those hardships that you've turned some mindset around.
Yeah, well, and for me growing up, and I'm sure this is same for the majority of siblings out there. You, depending on what age you're at, there's the embarrassment age where you're going out in public and your sister's throwing a tantrum and hitting and making a scene and doing all that stuff, and you're just kind of like, oh, do we have to go home? We didn't even get the pizza yet. Those kind of emotions and those kind of feelings. But then you get to a point, probably, I would say, right around high school. And nowadays it's probably even more prevalent. But back in my day, it was one of those things that there became a very strong sense of protection, not just for my sister, but for people with disabilities and special needs in general, where, all of a sudden it went from being, oh, this is so painful and a pain and having to deal with it, to more of a protection and basically making people aware of, yes, she has special needs, and yes, this is how she's going to be, and this is how you interact with her. So it almost became a completely different mindset from high school on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's society nowadays is a lot more accepting?
I think they're a lot more accepting, um, from a, oh, that's sad
Right.
standpoint, rather than a wanting to know or learn more. I think across the board with anything, empathy comes from putting that shoe on your foot and walking a couple steps in it. Whether it's, a different race, a different disability class, if you take a moment to look at it from a different point of view, it gives you a better ability to understand maybe some of the things that they're going through that ultimately for them is not by choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough. No, that's a lot of powerful statement. I'm just trying to digest it. Yeah, sympathy is feeling sorry. Empathy is putting yourself in their shoe,
Yeah.
and I think you hit it spot on. What was your relationship like with your sister?
Well, growing up, obviously, it was that twofold of annoyance because it's my sister, and then you add the pinching and the kicking and the hitting, and that, so there was that level. But there was always, and as we got older, there was a completely different level of awe and wonder for her. Because going through all of the things that she did, and it was almost like unlocking different levels of us understanding her. There was this point where she was signing to my sister that she was basically asking about heaven. And the thing that she kept telling my sister is, I can't wait to see Jesus because I'll be better. And the words that she said was heaven healed, heaven healed. And she would say that. So for her to have a comprehension of there's something different about her, but she's going to be perfect when she gets to heaven, was one of those mind-blowing things that stuck with me forever. Because to have that level of understanding, specifically without a condition, I mean, just regular people, to have that kind of understanding is expansive. But then for somebody that is supposed to not have that kind of understanding, to have that as almost a foundation of her belief was incredible.
That's amazing. I always wonder how much they can see into the spiritual world.
Yes. I mean, that would be a whole other podcast on its own.
Right. And I have a chapter in my book, Special Days, about a situation kind of like that with one of my students in a church. She was saying she could see angels. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait, what did you just say? They're flying around all around the stage. I'm like, what do you see? Can you describe to me what exactly you see? It's like, they're angels.
Yeah, don't you see them?
I don't see them. Oh, that's so cool. Well, I mean, so that stuck with you to this day. That's amazing. So you said she passed away recently, January of 24. Can you go through those emotions and what happened there?
Well, I was talking about it with my sisters. It's one of those things where, yeah, you're sad because she's not here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, knowing that she's with our mom, she's with our grandma, she's running, dancing, singing, she's doing all of the things in a brand new, perfect body, is one of those things that gives us joy. It's a very different way to experience loss and death of someone when your ultimate outcome you understand is perfect heaven. So for somebody that's lived a life of disability, lived a life of special needs, and to pass away to perfection, it's almost as if you're excited and happy for them versus you're so sad they're still stuck here in their need.
Yeah. Wow. It's like the tension between grief and joy.
Yes.
Knowing on the other side. And that's the hope we share. I mean, you post frequently about your faith, and I mean, I do as well. And I think that's where the hope lies, obviously.
Yes.
And it's that different perspective that we have Christ, things are happening as they happen. Maybe we don't understand it always. I mean, I shared with you at the summit, my wife's been going through cancer for a year. And it's kind of like, the more I wrestle with it, like, why is this happening to me? Which is the victim mindset, as opposed to like, what can I get from this? What is it teaching me? And then looking through this last year and all the blessings that have happened. I remember telling my buddy, I'm like, dude, this has happened, and it's opened my eyes to see how God was like preparing us for this years ago. And he's like, dude, you're on a different level. I don't even understand what you're talking about. I'm like, well, I don't know, man. This
because most people expect you to be angry, mad at God. Why did you let this happen? Mm-hmm. And, that was kind of the thing that we discussed there, because my wife went through a cancer scare as well. And we came out on the other side so that we could encourage you and your wife and offer that as a part of our story. We didn't know that was going to be a part of our story. And yet it became a part of our story. And so looking back at my mom, I don't ever remember a time. I'm sure there were times of grief and frustration and maybe bitterness. I don't know, but I never saw that from her. I saw resiliency, determination, and finding a way for my sister to have the best possible life that she could possibly have, which ultimately, when we're watching that take place, that kind of behavior, that kind of modeling was obviously passed off to all of us kids. So,
Mm-hmm.
again, as a parent and a parent of a special needs child, the things that you are overcoming, the things that you are going through, are modeling that behavior for your non special needs children if you have
Wow.
them,
Yeah.
because they're going to see how you overcome. And it's one of those things that I think more likely than not, siblings of special needs children become great advocates for special needs because of the fact that it's ingrained in their DNA. I know all of my sisters, when my sister passed away, she was under the care of my second youngest sister. So, she had transitioned from my aunt to my sister. And basically God designed her to be able to do that, to be able to handle my sister, because it's a lot of work. And for anybody that doesn't know that, anybody out there that doesn't know anybody with special needs, having a special needs child is a lot of work, mentally, physically, emotionally, for everybody in the family.
Yeah. It's the journey. This is what inspired this podcast, and just to support parents going through the journey. Because I mean, I saw it firsthand when I was teaching. It's they're they're the rock stars in my mind, and what they go through and how they keep showing up for their kids is powerful. What are some common mental blocks you see in parents with special needs children?
It just kind of depends. I mean, I remember being around the community young, 10 and under, and seeing the community as a whole, because, my sister was the only one at her school with Cri du Chat, but then there was 15 other kids from across the city that were in her same class, all with different varying levels of special needs, different syndromes, different issues. And to see the entire group come together, even though their kids may not be similar, they were all kind of going through the same thing. So I think one of the things that is a hindrance or a thought process that's blocking is that you're alone. You are not alone. There are people inside of a very large community that are there to support you. But then there are people outside of the community that either want to support you and don't know how, or just want to support you and are waiting for you to ask or show them how to help. So I think some of the roadblock may be they just don't know how. And if you're not asking, you're not going to receive that help or that community that is out there waiting for you.
Yeah, asking. It's kind of even when early on in the cancer journey, I was like dragging my feet on accepting help. And I had a buddy just call me out and be like, he was like, dude, just get over yourself. You gotta let it happen. And then what I realized in that is once everybody started helping, and we had a ton of help, like it was powerful. We had, like meal train.
Mm-hmm.
We had baby train because we had our fourth kid in the midst of all of it, and he was super fragile. I mean, he was 3 pounds when he was born, and we had moms come over and stay the night with him, like random moms. I never even met them. I met them when they showed up to the house,
That's
that
awesome.
just so we could get some sleep. And just listening to all them, even though they didn't sleep all night, they were like, "This is such a blessing. Thank you for letting me be here." And I remember thinking, like, "You're crazy, but sure. You
Yeah,
want to come
because
back?"
here's a mind-blowing thought process. There is somebody out there that God designed to bless you in this season or bless you in your child's journey. But that blessing won't flow to you until you ask for it. There has to be the ask. So ultimately, two things are happening. You're not asking and you're not receiving. And two, you're not allowing somebody to be who God designed them to be for this season of their life, because you're not allowing them to pour into you, to bless you, to help you, to support you, to walk alongside you with what you're going through. If that's from, special needs baby to special needs toddler, and then that was it, that was it.
Yeah.
That may have been their skill set. Then all of a sudden you may be introduced to somebody that's had a special needs child from, middle school all the way through to my sister's age of 44 years old, that know and understand and can help guide and help you. So, being able to look and actually ask is probably one of the most powerful things I could tell somebody as a parent of a special needs child to do, because my mom was looking around and asking everyone, trying to
Wow.
find not only answers but help, and what's the latest thing, what's the newest thing that we can do, and how can we push it further.
Yeah. Wow. It's powerful. Let's go. It's getting good. I knew it would be. You mentioned the how as you would see your mom and the example she set and showing up for your sister and the resilience you saw. And how would you speak to like your mom showing up for herself, but then also being able to show up for your sister and you guys, like that tension? Because a lot of the times I see that moms are so giving, but then at some point they kind of like they've given too much and they didn't fill their cup themselves. What would you speak to that?
Man, that's a hard one. So when my mom passed away, I had just turned 16. So I was just getting to that age where it's like, hey, I get to have conversations with my mom as a person,
Right.
not as you're my mom and I do what I'm told. So for me, that one's kind of a hard one to ask, because I I was still looking at her through the lens of she's a superhuman,
Yeah.
which she was. It wasn't, I couldn't tell you if I noticed that she was run down, or if she had a bad day, because in my recollection, in my memory, I don't ever remember her doing that. Now, I know the things that she loved that she did. She loved gardening. She loved being outside. She loved kids. That's why she ended up opening a daycare in our home. So I was raised around, tons of kids nonstop. I mean, we
Yeah.
always had more kids in our house than, the average human should.
Gosh, that's probably my nightmare.
Yeah. And, at times she would take on and watch other special needs children. So it would be so again, I look back at her now and I'm like, she was a freaking superhuman. And I can't remember or recall the getting worn out, and that's the way your memory should work. You should
Yeah.
remember the awesomeness and not remember any of the horrible things, and that's attributed to how she lived her life and how she instilled in us the great things, as opposed to having traumatic things take place that we remember and we look back at and go, oh, I can't believe that happened growing up.
Right. Well, I hope my kids remember that stuff too.
Yeah, I know that's how you want to live your life as a dad. You're like, hey, am I doing good at dadding? Is there anything I can do better?
I know. Sometimes I'm like, hey, I have four kids, all under 8. And I'm like, hey, if you could describe me in one word, what would you say? And then they can't take it serious. They're like weird. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
yep,
that's
yeah. You,
good.
you get you get those answers, and then for a whole 10 years, you may just get noises. It's
Yeah,
so weird. It's like from 13 to almost 20. It's just
they
no
don't
no
talk.
words.
A buddy told me once, talk to your kids about nothing, so that someday they'll talk to you about everything.
Yep, it's awesome.
I can't really talk about Paw Patrol for much longer.
Yeah.
How about some practical tools for building resilience? during
Gosh,
just
building
daily.
resilience is one of those mindsets that it's like a muscle. You have to remember, okay, I'm going to get knocked down. And again, it's a thought process. So you need to create the thought, you need to speak it out loud and address it, and then put in the work. So resiliency comes from understanding that something is going to happen.
Mhm.
So I think where most people get caught off guard is they don't understand that problems are going to happen. We live in a world of chaos. Chaos is going to happen to us, whether we create it or not.
Mhm.
The problem where people are not resilient is when they don't understand that and they allow things to hit them and not get back up. They allow things to hit them and not get back up. And then they just eventually stay down. What I always tell people is successful people and leaders in general understand that there's no two good days of leadership. And that's what John Maxwell says. There's no two good consecutive days of leadership because chaos is going to happen. And because you're the leader, because you're successful, everyone wants to bring you their problems to solve. That's what happens when you get to the top of the food chain, is that the rest of the food chain brings you all of their issues to fix. And that's why you're at the top of the food chain, because you got really good at fixing all the things. So in your life, when something happens to you, you have to look at it for the learning opportunity.
Yes.
You may not know what that is, and it may be the smallest, most insignificant lesson, but if you can take the lesson and use it to let yourself know that next time something similar happens, you're going to be that much better, that much stronger, and you say those things to yourself out loud, you write them down in your journal, you do these things to fortify your mindset because you're going to be constantly pummeled by negativity because that is the way the world is. What
Yeah.
you have to do is make a decision to gear yourself towards possibility, towards positivity, and to build yourself up because things are going to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. As the great Jocko Willing says, good.
Yep.
When adversity comes, good. You
Yep.
lost your job, good.
Good.
Your kid yelled at you, good. It's funny. I own a construction business in North Idaho, and whatever my project manager, he'll call me just like you said. Some days I'm like, this is the best. I own a business, everything's going good. I'm on the lake fishing, and then the next day it's like 7 o'clock. There's a problem. 8 o'clock. There's a problem. 10 o'clock. There's a problem, and he's calling me, and I just send him the YouTube clip every time. It's just Jocko saying good. And he's like, why do you keep sending me that? I'm like, what can we learn, man? Like, let's just, that's all you can do.
Yes.
Because if you don't, then you spiral out and you get in your head and you go in a drift and you just lead yourself to more chaos.
Yeah, and when you figure this part out and you start applying it, then the next best thing you can do is find somebody to share it with and teach. And that's how we all become stronger together. Is because when you learn to be resilient, it's not just for yourself. Unfortunately, most people don't understand you were not put on this planet to live your life for yourself. You were put here to be in service of other people. And for parents of special needs children, they know that more than anything because they were put on this earth to serve that child to the fullest extent possible. So when you realize that, it again takes that perspective of things that are happening to you and shifting them more towards, like you were just saying, things are happening for you, not to you.
Mm, that's powerful. Take it in, learn from it, grow from it, become resilient, and then get it out, spread it, help others. Have there been some moments where you've felt broken and at your limit, and what pulled you through? Kind of like, or go through the journey to where you are today. Like, what are you up
Yeah.
to? Yeah,
Let's see. God, and more God is the only
yeah,
reason why I'm here. I mean, if you look at like from where I'm at now to my birth, it's a story riddled in tragedy. I mean, you look at tragedy number one, born into Alaska in the 80s. Like there's
yeah,
nothing going on there. You're in wilderness. Special needs sister, poverty, food stamps, mom passing away at 16, leaving home, coming to, where I'm at now, Michigan, doing a business, being semi-successful, and then getting married, doing a business, then the economy collapses, filing for bankruptcy, finding ourselves standing in food lines, getting vehicles repossessed, going through all that. Then God drops an opportunity into our lap that we run with, and create multiple millions of dollars, which we were always hard workers.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a fact that we weren't hard workers. It was that, this was what God actually had planned for our lives, because not only did we have the ability to make the income, we had the ability to train, teach, and grow up other people and to develop them into creating large amounts of income. So it's not just the fact that we have a business, we have something that we're able to use our influence to make impact and help other people along the way. And so the resiliency part of it comes down to, ultimately, for me, being a believer of Jesus Christ, knowing that at the core of who I am for my entire life, people like, your mom passed away when you were 16. Weren't you angry at God? I was like, no, I was not. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a moment there. There hasn't been a moment in my life with the things that have happened to me where I've lost faith. I've always looked for what's the next thing and how do I learn from this? And maybe that was something that was instilled in me from my mom, watching her. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where I learned it from. But that was a foundational piece of the building block of me as a human that has carried me through. And it's one of those things that if you weren't raised that way, it's okay. You can learn it. You can change it. You are not a tree. You can change into and move into something different at any point. So that's what I'm passionate about now, is finding the people that aren't like that. I love the people like us that are high performing, they're awesome, they're out owning businesses, they're doing the things, they're helping the people. I love being around that community, but I
Yeah.
wasn't called to be here to motivate you to be more successful. My
Right.
job is to help unlock that awesomeness in somebody that doesn't know it's inside of them.
Yeah. So good. Wow. What do you think society misunderstands about families with special needs?
Everything.
Yeah,
If
totally.
I'm just being honest, everything. I mean, you hear the stupidest things like, oh man, they must have been really bad sinners to deserve a daughter like that. Man, what did they do? How many drugs were they taking while she was pregnant to have her turn out like that? All sorts of just really weird
Yeah.
misconceptions, unwarranted thoughts. And because humanity is just, humans are weird in general.
Yeah.
I think you add disability to the mix, you add special needs to the mix, and it just ramps that up 100.
Mm, totally. Well, yeah. Totally
And,
misunderstood.
and so going back to the event in Idaho, it was awesome for Tim Tebow to be there. Eric did an awesome job of bringing in some amazing humans. And this is the first time that I've actually got to meet Tebow, shake his hand, and tell him thank you for what he does for the special needs community.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's far beyond the night that they do for the prom night.
Mm-hmm.
They have an entire nonprofit for special needs that they do amazing things for the community. But
Yes.
there's not enough people out there doing it. And I guess the thing to say about like the misconception or just society as a whole is they don't understand how large this unsupported or softly supported community is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's because it's fractioned between all the different types of special needs, the different kind of disabilities, that there isn't, it almost feels like everyone's fighting for dollars.
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to nonprofit work, as opposed to, having a central command that says, hey, we're all in the same mission to help children with special needs. And I feel like that is what Tebow is so good at doing, is they're like, hey, we're encompassing everybody. We're inviting everybody in. And they're using their platform to bring the awareness to everybody out there of what they're doing and how they can help and how they can see differently and how they can interact differently, not just with people with special needs, but families of special needs children.
Yeah, his work is powerful. He goes into it a little bit on the Sean Ryan show in his recent podcast when he was in the Philippines, I think it was, and he came across a disabled kid, and it just really impacted him. And then now he's got a global reach.
Yep.
It's massive. I mailed him a copy of Special Day. So Tim, if you're listening, let me know what you think.
He definitely is.
Yeah.
We'll get this to him.
I'm sure he is. If you could speak, we'll close it out with a couple more questions. If you could speak directly to a newly diagnosed child's parent, what would you say?
God loves you. God loves your child, and he will provide you with everything that you need to raise that child. Just ask and seek guidance and ask people for help.
Amen. Amen. You recently put out a podcast, and if you want to listen to it, it's the Help Me a Millionaire podcast, which are great, by the way. I listen to it. They're like little 10, 15-minute nuggets just to get your mind right. I like listening to them in the morning on my way to the job, just get my mind in the right headspace. But you recently put one out on limiting beliefs, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners, a lot of parents out there who fight this, have some limiting beliefs that, like, am I capable of doing this journey? Do I have enough? I'm not equipped. How can you break down the 3 key ways to combat some of these thoughts?
Just limiting beliefs in general are just that. I mean, it's in the 2 words. It's a limit and it's a belief. And the thing is that you have the ability to change that at any time. And I would say specifically, speak out and write out against it. If you have something that you're struggling with, the first thing to do is address it. So name it. Write down the opposite of what that is. If you don't, look for a way, Google it, Chat GPT it, find a way to find out what the opposite thought process of that belief is, and then start doing the things that person or that answer. Because in order to change something, you can't just think and speak. You have to think, speak, and do. Because those are the things that God did. He spoke things into existence. They obviously came from a thought, and then he went out and did the work to make it happen. So that's always been the same flow: is your thoughts, the things that you're filling yourself with, create the thoughts, and then you speak it. Well, when you speak it, it becomes something that you've put out into the world. Not only speaking it, it causes your ears to hear it, so it's reinforcing whatever that thought is. Yes. But none of that changes until you do the work to make it different. So if you're having a moment of doubt, a moment of disbelief, which is the opposite of belief, a limiting belief, you have to figure out what is the opposite of that, write that down, and intentionally do the work to focus on what that is. That is how you rewire your belief system. That is how you take limits and make them unlimited. That's how you take disbelief and create belief. But it's in 3 things. It is the thought, the speaking of it, and the action behind changing it.
So good. And you can't change the action until you change the thought. Think, speak, do. There's power. There's so much power in this 45 minutes. Just from your journey with your sister to where you are now, and the mindset beliefs. I mean, I think it's a testament to everybody that our story is our message. And so take away what you can from your story and then share it with others and help them. because then you'll get the back end of that blessing. Think, speak, do. So good, so good. Where can people find you?
Well, I am all over everything on the interwebs at the real Joel Dunn. And the reason why that is because somebody a long time ago, 15 years ago, had my Joel Dunn URL. So I couldn't get it and he wouldn't sell it to me. So he is not the real Joel Dunn.
It's not.
I am the real Joel Dunn. So that's where you can find everything. The podcast is the Help Made Millionaire podcast. And the thought process behind that whole title, which it could change, and we could just turn it to the Joel Dunn show, but that just doesn't sound fun. The thought process behind it was I got sick and tired of hearing the whole slogan of self-made millionaire. I'm a self-made millionaire, a self-made millionaire. We're interviewing, he's a self-made millionaire. I was like, honestly, that's not true because somewhere, somebody in their family did something to prime them, to allow them to become who they are. There's people that came alongside you to help you become who you are. There's no way in the world that anyone has ever self-made themselves. And to think that is a lie. So
Yeah.
the thought process of being a help-made millionaire is somebody came along to help me, which catapulted me to where I am, which has
Yes.
given me the ability to help catapult people to where they need to go. So that's how we developed the title of the show. And it's literally just, 15 minutes of personal development training that I do every week in a group, and I just record it and put it out there. And we've been doing that. I think we're past 200 shows now. I mean, we've been doing it
Wow.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's
kind of
awesome.
scary,
Yeah. Yeah. You're really out there.
just cranking them out to the unknown.
I know. It's kind of like you put it out there, and if it sits with one person, that's kind of like what
Hey,
I tell
that's the goal.
myself.
You change one life and everything is worth it.
Right. And then with just leaning into your call and doing what God's called you to do. I mean, that's where it's at. So thank you so much for being on. This is the Unspecial
No,
Podcast.
man, thank you. It was a blessing for you to ask me. And like I said before, I was nervous because of the fact that I haven't ever had this deep of a conversation with somebody about my sister and everything that we went through. So it was one of those nerve-wracking things that I just wanted to do right for the community. So hopefully this has helped. Hopefully something on here made a difference. And if it did, please let me know. And if there was something that I said that wasn't correct, that you would lovingly want to correct me on, I'm okay with the people in the chat and the people in the comments. To be better, help me be better.
I mean, that's the mindset perspective that we're talking about. So I appreciate it. So much power, a lot of wisdom, and I know it's going to bless a lot of people. So thanks again for being on.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me.